Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to M4J Logistics here on Euro Truck Simulator 2. Give me 1 second just while I get Discord up on my other screen, because we're going to continue with our Q&As today. So, first of all, let's sort out what job we're going to be doing. I want to get straight into the jobs from now on. Don't need too much of an introduction, in all honesty, because we all know who we are and what we're doing. Should we do Poznan? 3 hours 40 minutes is quite a good journey. Or Hamburg. Oh, Hamburg's in the wrong way, wrong direction. I kind of want to go to Poland and knock out the 3 cities in Poland. Poznan, Szczecin. I think I've butchered that. And oh god, Wrocław. Is that how you pronounce it? I used to know these. That's the thing. I used to know these. We could perhaps go to Prague. Well, the payment isn't very high. I think we'll do Poznan. It's quite an easy one. 3 hours 40 minutes. Lovely jubbly. Alright, so last time out I got up to question number 108, I believe. So today we're going to start from episode. Oh, no. For some reason it's put me in the Steam tab. I don't know why it did that. Yeah, we got to episode. I keep saying episode. We got up to question 108. So I'm going to start from question 109, which is: do you stick to all applicable rules? No, is the short answer to that. Where am I going? Where's the way out? Is it this way? Yeah, no. I mean, I'm not a rule breaker necessarily, but I'm a rule challenger. So I am one of those people where this isn't the right way at all. I'm a person who likes to ask why the rule exists. That's probably the best way of saying it. So, like when I was at school, we used to get told when we were doing exams and stuff. Obviously, the no talking rule I stuck to and stuff like that. Nothing that would get me kicked out of the exam. But when it came to exam prep, particularly like English exams, English literature, we were reading Things Fall Apart was the book that we did our exam on, and constantly we were asked questions like, what was the... Seriously? I know you're a fire engine and all that, but they must have seen I was on their side of the road. Come on now. That fine might actually lead on to another question in the future. I think I just wrecked my truck doing that as well. Is there a workshop near here? There must be something. What have we got? Yeah, behind us. I'm going to have to pop a Yui. But yeah, we were always asked questions like, what was the author trying to convey when they used this particular sentence? And the answers we used to give, the teacher used to say, no, that's not what the author was meaning. The author meant this. And I used to always sit there and think, why are you asking us if you don't like our answer? So when it came time to do the exam, I wrote down my thoughts and feelings on the book. So when it said what was the author thinking about when he used this particular sentence, I wrote down what I thought the author was trying to convey when he used that sentence. And I got good grades because of that. So in those cases, I am a bit of a rule breaker. I always like to challenge... Oh, for God's sake, this is not my episode, is it? I always like to challenge the system as much as I can, but whilst not stepping over the line, if that makes sense. I think that's a good thing. You know, it's always about pushing boundaries and as well as, you know, knowing the limit, but not being constrained in what you can and can't do. That's what I think is really important. So hopefully that answers your question. Besides that, like things like my channel rules and stuff like that, I didn't want to have to write channel rules, but because of certain individuals, I had to write channel rules. And I mean, it's common sense, really. There's things you just don't do. And I thought we'd established those things that you don't do. I'm pressing all the wrong buttons now as well. But apparently not. So, there we go. I'm hoping I can get this fixed here. It'd be a bit annoying if I can't. Fix my truck, damn it. There we go. Right, we'll do a full repair. Oh my god. Wow! Okay, well I've just ruined my budget for this episode. Okie dokie. But yeah, I thought we were all adults. I thought I didn't have to write down the rules, but because, as I said, certain individuals, I had to write down the rules. And those are rules I do expect to be followed, because those are rules that I myself follow. So, I'm not being a hypocrite by saying I'm a bit of a rule breaker and then trying to reinforce my rules, because those are, again, it's common sense. There are certain things that you just don't say or do, no matter what. I don't really want to follow this truck. I'm going to take a shortcut. I'm going to put cruise control on as well, because I am just speeding. 30 miles an hour is ridiculous, even in a town like this. And this is really a town. I know it's meant to be Berlin and it's meant to be a city, but you look at the size of it, it's a town. Alright, let me just get through these tricky junctions and then I'll answer the next question. So I feel like I'm going to keep crashing otherwise. I might get a little bit distracted as well because I'm recording this video at 2 o'clock in the morning, and my friend Dylan, who's a member of XVI, you might know him, he's currently streaming Spyro, so I've got that open on my other monitor, so I keep glancing over at that as well, because, you know, I'm very professional when I do my recording sessions. Hey! The Mini wouldn't let me go, but is that an Aston Martin? I think that's an Aston Martin. He is generous. He is going to let me go. Thank you, sir. Speeding again. As long as I don't get seen doing it, I should get away with it. Don't take that as... I do not drive like that in real life. I follow the speed limits religiously. Yeah, I realised how that sounded as I was saying it. Don't be that person. Alrighty, in here, pick up the trailer. Ow, speed bump. I can see the trailer. Poznan, take job. Yep, it is the one I thought it was. Good stuff. So yeah, I'll pick up the trailer, and then once we get out on the open road, I will answer the next question. I want to try and get through like 6 questions per journey, depending on how long each journey is, and depending on how long I talk for each answer. I do want to try and give some... Oops. I do want to try and give the answers some depth as well, because I know some people do Q&As and they literally just say one word for the answer. And even if you're including that question as a joke and you answer it like that as a joke, I still think it's a little bit disrespectful when you've asked people to send in questions and then when they do, you kind of just ignore them. Or like you openly ignore them. So you kind of acknowledge them and then don't answer them. I've always found that a bit off-putting myself, so I try not to do that. That's why I say, you know, every question... Come on, cruise control. Every question that gets asked, I try and answer, because I think that's just politeness. There we go. Okay, so question 110. I'll stop reading out numbers from here on out. What are your favourite games that you've never published videos on? Good question, because actually a lot of my favourite games I have published videos on. You know, OpenTTD, Rollercoaster Tycoon, Planet Coaster, I suppose Transport Tycoon and Railroad Tycoon are games that I used to enjoy playing when I was younger, that I've never published videos on. Siege is a favourite game of mine that I've never published videos on, but that's going to change in the near future, because I will be starting my Siege series soon. I'm going to get heavily caught out if I stay in that lane. It's time I drove a little bit more sensibly. Besides that, what other games? Saints Row the Third. I really enjoyed playing that game. I've never made videos on it because I played that game before I started my YouTube channel, so that's why. So I suppose games that I've played before I started my channel are favourite games of mine that I've never made videos on. Fallout New Vegas is one of those. Technically, I mean, Fallout 76 is a game that I did some streams on, but never really got into the meat of the game as videos. And I've played it a lot on PC now, not even to record it as part of the XVI series, just to play it for fun. I really enjoy it. I understand some of the hate around it, some of the mistakes that Bethesda has made with Fallout 76, but I think too many people are judging the developer as well, and the game as the same thing. Fallout 76, in my opinion at least, is a very fun game still. I think too many people don't give it the opportunity that it perhaps deserves. But as I say, it's personal opinion. I know some people have been stung by it, and I think quite rightly they're upset by that. But I think there's too many people that are just jumping on the hate bandwagon without necessarily trying the game out for themselves. 111, what would your dream game look like? I can't really answer this question right now because I'm kind of working on something, which I can't give too much away right now. Basically, Project Cavier is XVI's current game. I took the wrong turning. I just added a shed load of time to my journey. That was a really unclear junction. Can I do a U-E somewhere? I know you're not supposed to do this, but can I just do a U-turn somewhere? Because I really don't want to have to drive 7 hours. Maybe this is going to be a single delivery now. I whiffed this. I done goofed, guys. What was I saying? So yeah, the game that we're currently working on is Project Cavier. Once that game is finished, we have lots of other projects that we are basically ready to move on to. Some are at the writing stage, some are at the art stage, some are still in early concept, and there's a game that I've had an idea for, which I'm not going to reveal too much about. And I know I keep saying that, and people must hate the fact that I keep saying that, but honestly, I wish I could tell you all about it, but right now I can't. Mainly because of my own limitations. You know, this is my project, it's something I came up with. I want to kind of look after it. But I think you guys will like it. I think if you're into the same kind of games as I am, you will like it. And it might blindside some people. You might be a bit surprised by the style of game that I've gone with, but it's something that I've always been interested in playing, and I've never found something that really scratches that itch. So to actually have the opportunity to make a game like that, it seemed like an opportunity that's too good to turn down. So yeah, stay tuned. It'll probably be a couple of years before it gets made. It's quite ambitious. And again, I'm aware of the time scale for all of our projects and what order things are going to get done in, so I'm kind of guesstimating. I believe it's going to be about 2 years before it sees the light of day. But yeah, do stay tuned, because I promise you, if it becomes a thing, if it does get released, I promise you will enjoy it. Ooh, I am swerving lanes. I need to put the questions on one of my other screens here, because this is a bit dangerous. Do you believe that criminals should receive less traditional punishments and more help and rehabilitation, or vice versa? I think it depends. I think it depends on the crime. I think some... Again, this is a really thorny subject. I think sometimes prison isn't enough of a punishment. And by that, I don't mean capital punishment. I don't mean bring back the death penalty. But I do think, you know, some prisons are a bit too luxurious. You have things like, you know, TV, you've got rec rooms, there's gyms, good food, that kind of thing. And I think sometimes, depending on the crime, that's not the punishment. I mean, that isn't a punishment. Sending someone somewhere where there's basically free food, you know, free TV. I think some have got Wi-Fi these days as well, which is just crazy. I don't think that is a deterrent. I think that's an encouragement. And you do hear stories of people who, you know, they commit a petty crime. They might do some shoplifting or something like that, just so that they can spend the night in a warm bed. And I mean, that's kind of tragic. Those are the people that we should be helping first and foremost. But yeah, I think rehabilitation can work, and I think that should be the preferred option. But at the same time, I think the punishment should suit the crime. You know, if you're a serial killer in this country, you get put in a maximum security institution of some kind. But even then, there's kind of a luxurious nature to it. It very much depends on what prison you go to as well, because they're all different. You know, different types of prison with different types of what's the word I'm looking for? Captivity is probably a good word. So, you know, some are open prisons, some are very much high security prisons. I mean, personally, I don't know enough about it to gauge it properly, but on basic impressions, actually I need to stay in this lane. On basic impressions, I think we shouldn't bring back the death penalty. I do think that taking a life in exchange for a life is trying to fight fire with fire. It doesn't solve the problem, because some people even want that. That's why they do these things. I actually think one thing we should do, you read about all these people who try to become infamous by committing these crimes. And I think one thing we should do is, no matter what crime they commit, they should remain anonymous. Their name should never be published outside of the law courts. And I think it should be made a law that they should be made to remain anonymous. Because what better way to deter someone from wanting to become infamous than by making them anonymous? I think that would solve a lot of problems. But, you know, unfortunately we live in a society now where the media, even if injunctions and things like that are created, they still try and find a way to get around them. And the fact that, you know, in Parliament you can break an injunction and not be considered breaking the law, you know, these names will always get out. People will always find out who these people are. And, you know, there'll always be some smart ass on Twitter who shares the name and then feigns ignorance when they're tried to be punished for it. So yeah, I mean, as I said, it's a tricky subject. I don't know much about the legal system apart from when I've played Prison Architect. So I'm probably not the best person to be asking or answering this question, but there we go. It was asked, I answered it as best as I could. And hopefully I've done a half decent job of it anyway. How often do you binge stuff? If not never, what do you binge on? I always binge stuff. When I first watched Peaky Blinders, for example, I think Series 3 had finished. Season 4 had just been released, I think, when I started watching it. And I binged like the first 4 series of it from start to finish. Shows like that are quite difficult to watch in binge for me, because, you know, back then I was still doing YouTube. This was like, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So, you know, each episode's an hour long, and there's 6 episodes in the series, so I watched 4. So I basically watched a day's worth of content over the space of a week. Quite recently I've been on Netflix and I've been watching some shows on there. I've been watching House again. I've been binging that, although I've got to a bit. I think my problem with House is I know now what happens, so there's certain episodes that I try and avoid now because I don't like the subject of the episode, which is fine, you know, some people do that. I've also recently found Whitechapel, which I'd heard a lot about but never watched. Now I've seen it, I'm kind of hooked, and I know that I'm just about to finish Series 3 and move on to Series 4, and I know Series 4 is the last one, so already I'm feeling quite sad about that. But yeah, I'm a bit of a binge watcher. Even on YouTube, I kind of, if there's a new series that comes out that I'm really interested in watching, I always wait for it to build up a few episodes first, because then I can just binge watch it all in one go. One thing I hate doing is waiting. So once I've watched the first episode, I kind of want to move on. Of course my guy yawns now. I kind of want to move on to the next one. I'm going to run out of time for this delivery, aren't I? Since I've still got 4 hours left. I might have to break the law a little bit, because I need to sleep as well. I think this delivery is a dud, guys. I think this delivery is a dud. We might have to start another one. We'll get a late penalty or something like that, I'm sure. Come on, matey. I don't care. I don't care. That guy was dangerous. Oh, that was the loan. Do I need to turn my lights on yet? I don't think I do. I don't like that music. Music to signify time limits I've never been a fan of in video games. Particularly when the music starts adjusting to the pace of the timer. So as you get to like 20 seconds, it starts speeding up, and then it gets to 10 seconds and it really starts speeding up, and then the little alarm noise goes off, and I don't like it. Let me just navigate this tricky chicane, and then I'll move on to the next question. Actually, do you know what I'm going to do? Because I keep turning around and I keep nearly crashing. So what I'm going to do, the game will pause very quickly whilst I do this. I'm going to put the questions up on my screen here so I can just read them directly. So, we did the criminal one. We did the binge watch one. Do you keep your promises as best as you can? Yes, I do. I hate people that make promises they can't keep. Sometimes people make promises that unfortunately they can't keep when it's not necessarily their fault. That's just part of life. But when someone says I promise and they know damn well that they can't keep it, I really, really detest those kinds of people. You know, when you make a promise to someone, you basically instill hope. And then if you break that promise, you're betraying that person. You're letting them down. You're breaking that trust. And you know, I've made promises that I've not been able to keep in the past, and even now I still feel a little bit of guilt towards that. But at the same time, I've had people who've made promises to me who've not been able to keep them, and yeah, I know both sides. I know how it feels, and it's not nice. So yeah, I do my best. If I promise something to do with my channel, so if I say I'm going to get a video up by 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, I'll be up until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning trying to get the edit done so I can upload it. Because I don't like letting people down at the end of the day. It's a stressful job, this. I've always said that. But one of the things I have is I don't like letting people down. So if I end up pushing myself to the limit because I said I would do something by a certain time, I end up doing it. And, you know, I don't particularly come out of it very well, but I don't know, it's what I do. It's what I do. And I'd like to think that I'm a relatively trustworthy person. I hope there's no one out there who watches my stuff who thinks I'm a guaranteed letdown or anything like that. Because I do my best. But, you know, sometimes it's not possible, and that's when I try and use social media. That's why I'm always saying follow me on Twitter and Facebook and join the Discord community and the Reddit. Because if I can't do an upload for whatever reason, I always post it and I always explain why. And also I post it on my website as well as a blog post. I think that's the bare minimum I can do to try and explain that there's been a delay or a technical problem or something like that. I just think it's common decency at the end of the day. Oh, I'm swerving off the road again. I'm too busy looking at what the next question is. So the next question is, do you realise your plans and turn them into actions? I try to. I do try to. A lot of what's on my channel has been stuff that I've been wanting to do for years, not just in recent times, but you know, even back when I was a kid. The best example of that is my Planet Coaster series, Global Ventures. That series is the culmination of about 15 years worth of work. You know, when I was a kid, I'm kind of answering a question from further down the list here, but I'll explain it anyway. So when I was a kid, I was fascinated by engineering, and my family used to think it was just trains because, you know, we used to go to Heritage Railways a lot, and I used to always like fawn over steam locomotives and things like that. But engineering as a whole has been a massive passion of mine for as long as I can remember. And you know, some people grew up with dreams of being a train driver or an astronaut or a vet, things like that, whereas me, I grew up wanting to be an engineer and a mechanical engineer. And even when I'm trying to remember the year, the bicentenary of Isambard Kingdom Brunel's birth, so I must have been like in my early, I must have been around 10 or 11, 12, something like that. I can't remember exactly how old I was. I might... If someone knows when Brunel was born, It was 200 years after that. So however old I was then. But there's a science museum in Bristol which I think still exists. It used to be called Explore at Bristol, and I think they changed the name recently. And they had a huge exhibition to celebrate the bicentenary of Brunel. And I could have stayed in that place for hours. I loved that place so much. So, you know, civil engineering was something I was going to get into, and building bridges and stuff like that. But then I kind of found Roller Coaster Tycoon, and then I wanted to be a theme park designer. And then I heard about Imagineers, which is a fantastic word anyway, and then I found out what they were and what they did. And there are some real legends in that industry. People who, arguably, you know, everyone thinks, oh, they just designed theme park rides. You know, they built a roller coaster and stuff like that. For those of you that don't know, Imagineering is a term that Walt Disney invented to describe, is a mixture of imagination and engineering. That's where the word comes from. So it used to be his animators and people who helped build camera equipment and sound equipment in his studio. They became the first Imagineers. So when he was designing Disneyland, he hired some of the best people from his studio to actually help develop the technology that's now used regularly in theme parks. And over the years, more and more people have been given the title of Imagineer. And there's some huge names. If you know the theme park industry, you'll know these names. People like Extencio, Mark and Alice Davis, Rolly Crump, Blaine Gibson. You know, not Blaine Gibson from Rooster Teeth, if anyone knows that. Although I don't know if there's a relation there. If I ever meet the guy, I'll have to ask him. Tony Baxter as well, he's a big name. You know, just wanting to be on that list, basically, of people who... Because again, these people didn't just build theme park rides. They developed technology that is now used outside of the theme park industry. Really, 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 really great people. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a theme park designer. And then, what was the question? I've actually forgotten where I was going with this. Oh yeah, realizing plans. So, as a kid, I designed a theme park. And I thought, if ever I get the chance, this is the park I'll build. And, you know, I'm talking... not scale drawings and schematics and blueprints and stuff like that, but occasionally I got a ruler and a pencil and I drew out like a square and designed a ride that would fit in that square. And you know, I designed roller coasters and I designed tracked rides and things like that. And then Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, I started the Somerset Hills International Resort series, which was meant to be a three-parter. One where I built the theme park, which is now Global Ventures. One where I built a safari park, which I think was called Wild Realms. I'll have to check in fact I've got my notes somewhere on a whiteboard near me. Yeah, Wild Realms. And then there was a water park as well called Ultimate Splashdown. And that was the Somerset Hills Resort. Obviously Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 is now very outdated, but Planet Coaster has come along. And I am determined that I'm going to realise this plan. Because this is the one that I've sat on the longest. You know, for half my life, pretty much, I've been wanting to do this. And now I've got the opportunity to actually do it in a simulated landscape. If I could do it for real, believe me, I would drop everything and go and do that. Did I clip the fence there? I think I did. Damage the trailer. So we're going to be late and broken, which is not very great. But yeah, I genuinely, I talk about this on my streams, but you know, I can talk about the rail industry and I can talk about you know, sport, football, that kind of thing. So I'm a big football fan as well. But if you want to sit me down for hours and hours and talk about my main interest, I will literally chew your ear off talking about theme parks. It is the thing I know the most about. So, as I've always said, Global Ventures is the series I want to take off on my channel the most. I want to be able to meet people who share that interest in not just roller coasters, because there's a lot of people who are like adrenaline junkies who talk about the tallest and the fastest and the longest, and I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in what's the ride when you leave the ride and you go to the on-road photos section and things like that. What's the one where 3 days later you're still talking about it and you're still feeling the experience of it, and not just you went 90 miles an hour or you went down a 200-foot drop at 90 degrees. I'm not interested in that side of things. I'm interested in like the story and the memory and things like that. And you know, living in the UK, we're actually very fortunate. We've got a lot of very well built theme parks. and some of the best roller coasters in the world that are all-rounders. They're not just the tallest, the fastest. They actually give you an experience that you won't just forget in an instant. That's what I'm interested in. So yeah, that's the plan, where I've got that plan for that series and I'll see it through. Things like the M4J network as well, I'll always see that through. I don't like leaving things unfinished. I always return and finish them, even if there's years and years between starting and finishing. I'll always go back and I'll always finish it, because I just, you know, it might be the only chance in my life that I ever get to do something like this. So I might as well grab it with both hands while I can. And it's also why, you know, opportunities like working for XVI, a few years ago I probably would have turned Kurt down when he approached me, and I probably would have done something else. But it felt like too good an opportunity to say no to. And again, you know, there's been ideas that I've been sat on, scripts that I've written back in the past, or ideas that I've worked on that haven't made it any further for lots of different reasons. And you know, becoming a writer and an artist for a game developer is actually a very cool way to re-explore these ideas and see if there's anything there still. And the game that I mentioned previously that I still can't talk about, that kind of came from that. It was an idea that I had in my head, and then one day we were having a meeting where we were talking about different ideas, and it was either Dylan challenged me on something or I challenged him on something. I can't remember the exact specifics, but it ended up in him saying, let's see if you can do better. And then I sort of took this idea that I'd kind of been working on for a while and ran with it and turned it into a game concept, and now that's the thing that I'll be working on once Project McAfee is done. Just little things like that. And you know, again, if I was to give advice to people, is you might have an idea that you've been sat on for a while, and you might always think that now's not the time to explore it, but keep working on it, keep, you know, just tinkering with it in the background, because one day you might get an opportunity to realize it, and you want to be ready for it, because if you miss that boat, it might never come back. I feel like I should be driving faster, and yet the limit here is 40. Or 43 to be more specific. Right, next question. Do you feel comfortable talking to others? Now this is also a tricky question, because the answer is yes and no. A few years ago, I was very much an introvert. Before I started my channel, I didn't like talking to people outside of my sort of bubble. So if it was friends, close family, even sort of extended family, I was relatively comfortable. But anything outside of that, I mean, the word is shy, basically. I was really shy. I had social anxiety. I didn't like meeting new people. I didn't like talking to people about thoughts and feelings and stuff like that. And then over time, you know, that's changed. YouTube has helped a lot with that. Sitting in front of a microphone and expressing one's feelings, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, that kind of thing, it really does help, because, you know, now my job for XVI is to go to networking events, introduce myself to new people who I've never met before, and talk to them about the business. I also do presentations in front of groups of people where, you know, I've never met any of them before, I don't know any of them, and I've got to try and get them to buy into what I'm talking about. And even at uni, I think the turning point for me at uni was we were doing a big group project. The whole group, the whole cohort was involved in this. It was using Google Tilt Brush, which is a virtual reality program. I think you can use it in 2D as well, but we did it in 3D using HTC Vive. We invited students from other areas of the School of Creative Arts to come in and spend 45 minutes just drawing something in a 3D space using virtual reality equipment. And then at the end of the project, we would 3D print the best pieces of art, and we would display them at an end of year exhibition. So, I mean, that sounds pretty damn cool, doesn't it? I really wanted to be involved with that as soon as it was announced. So I managed to wangle my way onto the team that were trained on how to use the VR equipment, and then it was our job to go out to these other groups and encourage them to come in for these sessions, and then teach them how to use the equipment, and then basically supervise them whilst they did the artwork. And then after that, it was our job to get them 3D printed and set up for the show. And there was one particular session where the whole group was there. So it was myself, Dylan, who again you know, and then two other guys, Sam and Ed. We were the VR group, and Kurt was working in a group with another group of people. They're working on the marketing for the exhibition, I believe. So they were doing like the banners, the flyers. I think they made a website and a Facebook page and stuff like that as well. One of which I think I still follow the Facebook page. Actually, I might need to change that. But yeah, there was one particular big group meeting where too many people, for my liking, were complaining that they had nothing to do, and like our lecturer had already gone through the list of things that hadn't yet been done, and I was reading that list that was written on the board and then listening to people complaining that they didn't have anything to do. And the bit that really triggered me was there was one group that were in charge of making a documentary about the project, and they targeted us and said we never told them when students were coming in to do their artwork, so they never knew when to come in with the camera. And at that point I kind of addressed the entire room and just said, you know, we've told you every single time when students are coming in and you've not shown up with your camera. When you do show up with your camera, you just sit there in the corner on your phone and don't really film anything. We've taken a lot of footage that you've actually used in your documentary, because a lot of the footage they used was people. It was captured directly from the computer. It wasn't using OBS. I think it was using VLC, but it was a screen cap basically of people drawing in 3D. And I said, you know, I captured that for you. You didn't do that. None of you ever came in. I captured it, gave it to Ed, and he emailed it to you. And I basically just ranted at the entire room and said, you've not done your job. You've not done your job. You've not done your job. And sort of ended it by saying, you know, our lecturer made it clear, if one of us fails, we all fail. So why is no one pulling their finger out their arse and actually getting this done? And that was the first time where I really felt liberated, and that I actually spoke up. I actually stood up for myself, because ultimately I didn't want to fail because I did nothing wrong. I did my work. I did my work very well, as did the rest of my team. We were arguably the best functioning team out of everyone. I don't know the full story of what happened in Kurt's group, but I know that there were some rumblings of discontent, shall we say. Some people didn't necessarily agree with the brief and all that kind of thing. I think we were the only group that just did our job without there being any issues. So, you know, I spoke up. No one else did, so I spoke up. And I liked the fact that I did that. I think if I hadn't have done that, things wouldn't have worked out as well as they did. Ultimately, that was probably the best group project I was involved in at the end of the day, which sounds funny considering what I just said, but it was the first I ever got, and it felt good, and I'm really glad that I spoke up and did what I did. And that, as I said, was a turning point, because now I can rationalize speaking to people, whether I know them or whether I don't, and it's helped me a lot in my family. I can speak to my family a lot more candidly. It helped with my YouTube as well, because this was after I started my YouTube channel that I did this. So now I feel like I can be a lot more open about myself and about my channel and about my thoughts and feelings towards the channel. Perhaps I'm a little too open at times when I'm constantly asking where viewers have gone and things like that, but I kind of prefer that than to be someone who just sits there and bottles it up, because I've been there and I've done that, and it never ends well. Alright, we got our delivery coming up. I will do a second delivery in this episode. I was contemplating not doing a second delivery in this episode, but I think I'll do a short haul one, just to make up for the fact that I really messed up the beginning of this delivery. Going the wrong way was the worst bit, because that added 4 hours to my journey. I don't think I'm even going to get paid for this job right now. Yeah, hopefully I've answered that question. I feel comfortable talking to others now. I feel comfortable going into a room full of people I've never met before and introducing myself. Basically, because that's now my norm. My norm before used to be I only talk to people I knew, whereas now I only really talk to people that I don't know. So you kind of get used to it. And, you know, every week when I start my stream, I don't know who's going to join. I don't know who I'm going to be talking to. So it's always a new experience, and it's fun. I think it's the 2nd of April, I'm due to give a talk at the uni in front of a huge group of PhD students and postgrads, and it's the first time I've done a room that big. But I'm actually looking forward to it. I used to be nervous, but now I'm really looking forward to it. Alright, I've delayed it long enough. There we go, late. We didn't get paid. We didn't get paid! Okay, where are we right now? We're in Poznan, aren't we? So we could do a little short hop. Well, that's not very short. This is probably a oh, that's not very short either. We could do this one, because it's quite high paying, and it also has fragile, standard, what's the star? High value. So I think we'll do this one. Just to make up for the whoopsie doodle that we did just now. So I'm guessing, oh, I didn't actually see what it was we were delivering, but this looks like the place, at least, so. Freight market, and it was this one, wasn't it? Oh, it's the yacht. Oh, God. Why does... For some reason pressing shift opens up the Steam menu when it's meant to be shift tab. Alrighty. So next question. If you were an animal, what would you be? I mean, some people would argue that I already am an animal with my lifestyle. But, I mean, sloth sounds quite appealing, doesn't it? Basically sleeping and lounging around all day. Seriously? Come on, game. Be nice to me, please. Oh, God, sticky keys. Ugh. Right, just put it in forward. There we go. Come on. Man. This is not a flexible load, is it? Get out of the way. But yeah, what animal would I be? I kind of like... I mean, koalas are kind of cool. Because they do sweet FA most of the time, and people love them for it. But then, you know, being able to run fast like a cheetah would be quite cool. Or basically like an all-rounder. Leopards are pretty good. Leopards can climb trees. They're also quite fast. No one would mess with a leopard. I'm not one of those people that would say spirit animal or words to that effect. I'm not really that kind of person. But any of those animals I mentioned, basically, koala, sloth, leopard, one of those three. It's the best I can do, I'm afraid. If you were a leader of a country, where would you be? Here, UK. Why not? M4J for Prime Minister. You heard it here first. I've had a few people tell me, why haven't I got involved in politics? And the answer really is I can't deal with the bullshit. Why? I don't know why anyone... Actually, I do know why people would get involved in this, but I personally would never get involved in an industry where lying is the norm. You know, what is the point? And you get people who... They join for genuinely good reasons, but end up getting corrupted by it. And not saying that would be me, but if someone I knew ended up like that, it would put me off for life. It's just a nasty place to be. You know, even in, you go into the Houses of Parliament, you're supposed to go there for a nice, civilised, adult debate about a really important subject, and you end up just name-calling the person sitting opposite you. And chances are, you might both support the same football team, you might have the same religious beliefs, you might have the same political beliefs, but because you're on opposite sides of the room, you're hardwired to hate that person and to jeer at them and to mock them for whatever they do. I just think, what a nasty thing to be involved in. So, it would be the UK, because I can't really be a... okay, let's assume this is a hypothetical question, and I could be leader of anywhere in the world. I mean, somewhere rich would be nice in that instance. Earn a bit of money. But yeah, to be realistic, I could only really be Prime Minister. Because I wouldn't be able to be President, for example, because I'm not born in the US. I'm hoping. Game. I'm hoping this load fits under here. Didn't check. Oh yeah, it does. Good stuff. It's 25 miles an hour through this bit, and then we go back up to 50. Okay. So yeah, I think I answered that question. UK would be the answer, and I would turn things around for sure, or at least try to. That's the other thing. I mean, there's certain elements of leading a country that I'm just not interested in. You know, there's all sorts of things. I would just try and reform the transport infrastructure. So I could probably be a good transport minister, but nothing more senior than that. If you had to quit working for several months in a row, would you be able to provide for your basic needs and then successfully restart? Honest answer is yes, I could provide for myself for a significant amount of time, financially speaking, but stopping and then starting again is always difficult. Doesn't matter what it is. Even if you kid yourself and say, oh, I really needed that break, getting back into it is actually twice as much work as if you hadn't have stopped in the first place. Plus, I've said this before, I'm a bit of a workaholic. I actually like to be working. So when I'm not working, even if I feel like I have to take time off, so like over Christmas, New Year, I said I would take 2 weeks. I think I took closer to 3 weeks in the end. It was like 2.5 to 3. And by the end of it, I was banging my head against the desk, wanting to get back to work. But I told myself 2 weeks, so I stuck to it. But then getting started again was tricky, because then you have to try and get back into your schedule. You know, the first stream after Christmas was really difficult to get into. So I like working. I like being busy. I always have ideas, and I'm always writing them down and working on things. And I'm also someone, as I've said, doesn't like to leave things unfinished. So if there was stuff that I didn't get done before my break, I would actually work on that during my break, which you shouldn't really do, but there I was. And yeah, I don't like to not be doing stuff. It's just one of those things. I have to be kept busy, otherwise I get bored and I get restless and all kinds of things. Police stopping traffic. That wasn't very safe now, was it, officer? Alright, slow down for this. This is going to be tricky, isn't it? Are we going to fit in here? I'm going to have to go really wide just to not beach myself on that railing. It had to be a turning like this, didn't it? Excuse me, game. This road isn't closed, is it? I hope not. Excuse me, officer, you seem to be blocking the road. Alright, go through the toll. I was about to say, will I fit, but both roofs are the same height, so it really doesn't matter. 31 quid, you're having a laugh, aren't you? Taking the piss. Come on, there we go. Oh, there's an incident. That burnt out car, Jesus. What the hell happened here? Anything coming? Go, 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 go. Alright, next question. So yeah, I would be able to survive for several months, but I wouldn't want to. You know, I want to be working. I'm at an age now where I really need to be earning a wage, in all honesty. So Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon, will be. Hopefully it's a nice wage too, because, you know, it's everyone's dream really, isn't it? Would you rather run only the action side or the business side of football? Probably the action side. I don't think I could ever coach football, but I would rather do that than be the marketing guy, even though I am the marketing guy for XVI. I like football more than I like marketing. So when we're marketing our games and stuff, I enjoy that because it's gaming related and I can sort of tap into my own experience of what adverts appeal to me and things like that. Whereas when if I ever work in the football industry, I'll be more interested in the football side of things. So, you know, you sometimes get these weird ambitions of, I wonder if I can get my pilot's license, or I wonder if I can get an HGV license, or I wonder if I can get my coaching license. And it might be something I explore. That'd be a really good vlogging series though, wouldn't it? Someone sort of chronicling their journey from no coaching experience whatsoever to being a fully licensed coach, potentially with a job on the horizon. Might be something in that. But yeah, definitely the football side of things. Definitely the football side of things. Although running my own football club is a different matter. Working for an existing one, I'd rather work on the football side of things. But seeing what Hashtag have done over the last 18 months, I'm very, very impressed by what they've done. I followed them before. They entered the semi-professional football league. So they're in level 9 now, I think, of English football. So they enter the FA Cup next season as well, and I really hope they do well in that. But, you know, the work I've done with Hatfield on Football Manager has always made me wonder, could I get involved with Hatfield Town in real life? I wouldn't even know where to start with that, though. I don't know who owns it. I don't know anything, really. I know where they play, and I actually went to school with one of their players, which might help me through the door one day, but who knows. Would you rather only... Oh, hang on. That's not what I was... That's the one I just answered. Would you rather run a network primarily focused on buses and trucks, or a network primarily focused on ships and aircraft? Buses and trucks, it's a lot easier. I like stuff where it's kind of on the ground. I don't mind ships and boats, I don't mind flying. I get seasick, which doesn't help. I do get airsick as well, actually, but I'm a lot better than I used to be. But I like logistics networks. I like being able to look out your window and see what you've built. You can't really do that with aircraft because they fly over you. You can't really do that with ships because chances are your office building is nowhere near the docks. So yeah, trucks and buses, that'd be cool. I want to do more road stuff in OpenTTD in the not too distant future. Once we finish the East Coast Main Line and the Bar-City commuter belt, I'm going to go back to doing some of the smaller sort of civil projects. So like finishing the buses and the trams around Guard City is one of those projects. Getting some ships running, water buses, water taxis, whatever you want to call them, around Guard City. And also getting some of the long distance cargo ships up and running as well, and build the freight network up. I've got some plans for what I want to do, but I don't like saying that because I want you guys to sort of dictate what happens next. But if you guys want to see me do that, now's a good time to mention it. Drop a comment down below this video, or head over to my Discord and go onto the M4J Network channel there and suggest the ideas there. Any kind of road, rail, ship, air, all that kind of thing, let me know, and I'll add it to the episode plans. And yeah, it will get done. Would you rather go 100 years into a future where there is much advancement in technology or in culture? Tricky. I feel like as a society, globally, we've gone a long way forward in terms of technology and quite a ways back in terms of culturalism. Particularly tolerance and acceptance. We've gone a long, long way back. Almost back to Neanderthal times with that. So, personally, I think technology right now, we're at a very, very good level. But I'd like to see multiculturalism be a lot more advanced. you know, one of my favourite things about going to London is seeing all the different people from all different backgrounds, all speaking different languages. I really, really like that. Some people don't, and I never understand why. Because, you know, the world as a whole, the English language even, is made up of lots of other languages from all around the world. We've got lots of Scandinavian words, we've got lots of European words, we've got lots of, you know, even words from Asia are now starting to creep into our language, and I don't see that as a bad thing. I think that's actually a really, really good thing. If you want to talk about communication and everyone understanding each other, then speaking one unified language is the best way to go. But if you want to preserve culture and learn to be accepting of others, then learning to speak other people's languages and learning about their culture is actually a really good way to move forward. And it's something I do try to do. I think one of my biggest regrets in life is that I didn't pursue speaking French and Spanish further. And I can kind of pick up words now, keywords, but a lot of the time I'm a bit lost, and I kind of feel bad about that, because, you know, I shouldn't expect to have to go to France and they all speak English. I should have to speak French for them to understand me. Some people assume that everyone in the world should speak English, and I don't think that's right myself. So yeah, culture. I'd like to see culture advance. Some of the best things in the world are culture related and nothing to do with technology. You know, art is a good example of that. Architecture as well. Some things are technology and culture, but a lot of it is one or the other. Right, we're nearly at journey's end. I've probably got time for maybe one or two, whoopsie doodle, more questions. So there's another would you rather here. Would you rather go 100 years into a future where there's lots of peace but not much advancement, or a major world war early on but lots of advancement towards the end? Well, actually, again, unfortunately, a lot of technological advancement is because of war. Things like radar was invented because of World War II. We created radar so we could detect enemy aircraft. Lots of sort of stealth technology that is now used outside of the military was founded because of, you know, military espionage, basically. Trying not to be... What does a flashing yellow light mean? Does that mean I can just go? I hope so. So yeah, I would actually rather go for lots of peace but not much advancement, because again, I think technology right now is in a good place, even if a lot of it is a product of war. I think we're in a good place. We don't need to rush things there. So world peace would be a very nice thing to have, just to not have to pick up the news one day and be worried about who's pissed off who's threatened to bomb who's attacked who. Let's not worry about that. Let's live in a world where we don't have to worry about that. That's what I mean to say. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and the fact that we all attack each other, sometimes for no logical reason, it's just stupid. We act like we're better than animals, but we act exactly like animals when we do things like that. Right, and that is going to be the last question of the episode, because I'm about to park up the truck, make up for the money that we just spewed down the drain, and then call this an episode. So hopefully I've done a good job of answering those questions. I've probably messed up a couple of them, and I've talked for way too long on some of them. But I like to give long, detailed answers where possible. Consider it a university essay. So if you do have any more questions, feel free to post them on the Discord chat. The Q&A channel should be the second one from the top when you first go on Discord, underneath the welcome channel. Again, you don't have to use the number convention if you don't want to, but it can help with making the questions in chronological order. It's entirely up to you. I'll answer them in the order that they're posted anyway. And again, I'll try and keep the askers anonymous for now, unless you specifically ask to be named, because I think that's only fair. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you enjoyed the series. Drop some comments down below with ideas for future episodes, mods you want to see me try, trucks you want to see me buy, countries you want to see me drive in. Feel free to suggest them all, they will all be used, believe me. Besides that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support, and until next time, I will see you soon.